back to our weekly reading. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm, of course, overjoyed to have you. There was going to be a full-scale reading this Friday. However, I decided against that because even though I'm going into work a little later, some of the video platforms, namely BitChute and others, have experienced longer than usual load times. And I'm trying to keep these videos as short as possible so that the load times aren't big. Unfortunately, this is not going to be one of those videos. I am going to do a full-scale reading here. And this is what a full-scale reading looks like. If you would like a reading for yourself, whether that's tarot, oracles, runes, or a full-scale reading like the one I'm doing now, simply drop down to the link below. Anything you send me off of the 2 wish lists that I have, $35 and under, get you 2 readings and a birthday reading. And it's our little gift exchange. You send me something, I give something back. It's that simple. No one is paying for readings here, and if those aren't your thing, continue to enjoy the free readings right here. I will be bringing them to you weekly, so let's see what your week holds. And you know, I've had, about this whole quitting vaping thing, when I say it's not hard, it really isn't. It's very easy. The problem is the cravings hit you at the weirdest times, like when I'm doing dishes, for example. That's when it hits me the worst, and I don't know why, because I never did that. Sometimes when I'm cooking, just weird times that I cannot explain properly to anyone. It's just kind of weird, but they are easily shaken off, and you know, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. It's actually harder to quit smoking, and even that's actually kind of easy. But when those little cravings hit, it's like a little monster inside you, and it's sitting there. It's just a little empty, insecure feeling, and you tell it, nope, I don't do that anymore. And I know that you're screaming out for it, but it's not going to happen. And eventually that just goes away. It only takes a few minutes. Seems like an eternity, but it only takes a few minutes. And guess what? You don't even notice it after a while. One of the little things that helps me is sometimes just keeping like a little pen in my hand. So I can sit there and play with it. Don't roll it around in my fingers. So, we're going to get a look at what the week is going to look like through this full-scale reading. And we're going to see how we're doing. Are we taking care of ourselves, or are we taking care of each other? I would certainly hope so. And because it's kind of a dark day out there, I decided to bring in a little bit of light. So I've got the Starseed Oracle, I've got the Uncommon Tarot, I've got the Viking Oracle, I've got our Spirit Animal, and I've got our runes. And of course our runes are in this nice little bag here. We'll be kind of touching base on that just a little bit. And I think today the runes are going to be going right on top of these oracle cards. What do you say? Of course, I have my tea with me, and I hope you will join me over on speakyourmindhere.com. That is one place I do like to post. I mostly post on Twitter, but I also post these on Speak Your Mind Here. I do have a new blog. It's called Against All Odds, Tales from the Tabletop. And it's at againstallodds4.blogspot.com. I hope you'll check it out, because I tell the stories of my 4 Against Darkness campaign currently. The stuff that happens right here on the tabletop. I tell those stories that play out. And you get photos of the characters' movements and what's going on. So you get some illustration there as well. Now, I know some of the miniatures are unpainted. That's fine. I will be, of course, getting around to painting those very soon. When exactly, I don't know. But soon. As soon as it warms up a bit, I think I'm going to prime a few and start painting those as well. So, we shall see. In the meantime, let's just begin, shall we? Let's start with you, start with me, start with us. Who are we? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Maybe we can explain why this week is, what this week is looking at for us, what our role is in the week. And so far, we have frithgeared. So this is calling for us to be mediators of sorts. We need to learn to be truly neutral in some things. And you know what? I watched a video, a couple of them actually. One though in particular that I want to mention was by The Critical Drinker. Now The Critical Drinker is a man from Scotland who is, in terms of character on his show, he kind of comes across as a guy who's been drinking way too much. He's a Scottish man with a Scottish accent and very slurred speech. And he does these movie reviews and things like that. And to give you the guy's bona fides here, he has written the Ryan Drake series, which is available on Amazon. And he talked about how the woke movement is sort of coming to an end. So you're not going to see this stuff as much in entertainment anymore. And he said, in and of itself, the representation and telling these stories of different people, places, events, and drawing visibility to certain things is not wrong in and of itself. But it's when it takes over, that is everything. When the identity politics just supersedes all, that it begins to start making it, when it takes precedence over the story, then that's when when it's more about pushing the message, that's when it starts to turn people off. When it starts belittling and berating people, instead of maybe letting them make their own decisions and understanding why. Getting into nuance, that's important. Because once it ends, we don't want to overcorrect. And that's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to consider the nuance of a situation. We're being asked to look into things a little more deeply. And when the two sides begin to start warring with each other, go, hold on, whoa, let me look at it. We're not to immediately just take sides anymore. I've said this before, when the illusion collapses, there will be some that are just buried under the rubble, and you won't be able to save them. Well, you certainly can't save them by belittling and berating them, can you? No, you can't. You can't convince them to come away from that and to start their own thing, to cut their own path. And that's really what we want. We want to encourage others. We don't want to beat them about the head and shoulders. And the best way to do it is just plant those little seeds and get them to start questioning it. Provide the answers when they come to you. Eventually, that will convince them all on their own. It makes a lot more sense. So how do we do that? How are we being guided? We know that things have to come to an end. And that's what she represents, is this ending of things. We have to stop with the tribalism to the point where it's all about taking sides. You're either with me or against me, that old ultimatum. And let me tell you something, people, when people throw ultimatums at you, they should be losing automatically. And ultimatums, they're not always just thrown about, one way or the other. Let me tell you some of the subtle ways that people throw ultimatums at you. For example, during the late 80s, during the 80s and 90s, there was a movement called the Satanic Panic. And for most of us, we come to this channel, we watch this kind of thing, and we're like, okay, that makes sense. We go to other channels like it, like Fixed Air Moon. We go to Kaylee Burkana, Robert Phoenix, and all these other people who do these kinds of things. And we look at them, we consider the messages that are coming through, and we either say, well, that's not really for me, but I think I might know someone who would benefit from this message. And then they go that way. And then there are people that will tell you, oh, if you're into that, then you're into devil worship and Satanism. And people, that's the kind of subtle ultimatum they're throwing at you. You must be all on board, or you're immediately all on board with their opposite. We're seeing that with the Hogwarts Legacy game. We're seeing it with many other things right now. And I'm telling you, do not fall for it. That is a false dichotomy. It is not welcome, and it hinders the path of the warrior, and that is you. You are a warrior. You are able to make your own decisions. The messages I present here are just that. They're just messages. It's up to you whether or not you do anything with them. I'm here to give you the information. You make up your own damn mind. I had to stop with the tribalism a long time ago. And in some cases it's not easy and it's not perfect. It's harder to quit than vaping and smoking, but it's still possible. Now I just want to let that sit for a moment. Let's see about the spirit animal. And there it is. Kitty. Claim your independence. We know one thing about cats. Cats are very independent creatures. Unless you're like Bub and then come around an hour or two before feeding time, you want to be fed early and you demand to be fed early. But cats are very independent creatures. If left to their own devices, they will go and do things and make their own decisions. They will breed and spawn and do all kinds of crazy things. And then sometimes on their own, they just want you to hold them and pet them and love on them. But they make decisions on their own. They don't allow themselves to be bullied. They don't allow themselves to be controlled. You've heard the term, it's like herding kittens, because kittens won't be herded. You shouldn't be either. In fact, no one who shows up to this channel is easily herded into a mentality or an ideology. They make decisions for themselves based on the information that comes to them. And when new information comes up, they're able to look at it objectively, consider the nuance, and then make the decision for themselves. Let's look at the mind for a moment. We're just going to flip over all three cards. And it's all reversals. We have a Six of Swords in reverse. Have you not been spreading your wings and flying? Because that's what it's looking like right now. Right now, I could tell you just by looking at all three of these cards that there's a serious problem happening. You're having that struggling to move on. Are you slipping back into a painful place? Because it's the way it's looking. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling overburdened, you're slipping back into a very painful place. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes asking for help is going to be among the greatest things you can do. Then we have the Nine of Wands in reverse. And so far with the Nine of Wands, I'm seeing, creativity just being drained. Just drained at the moment. And you're overwhelmed by all the obstacles. You're feeling a little threatened right now. And this is why I say, when you start feeling threatened, immediately the person threatening you is going to lose, aren't they? And then I've got this little guy right here. Nine of Coins in reverse. What is it that's so incomplete at the moment? Because right now there are obstacles in your path and you're feeling overwhelmed by them. You're afraid to ask for help. Have you lost your purpose? Now I'm going to give you a little spoiler warning. If you've never read the Dragonlance novels, I'm about to spoil it a little bit. Because I'm going to talk about two characters in particular. Caramon and Raceland Majer. two brothers, two twins as a matter of fact. One is a very big, strong, strapping lad of a man. He's the Chad, if you will. That's Caramon. He's the warrior, he's the fighter. And then there's Raistlin, his brother, who took the tests at the Tower of High Sorcery at a very young age. And in his arrogance and hubris, it wrecked him. Yes, he's a very powerful wizard. He can do all manner of things. But above all else, all he seeks is power. And Caramon, his brother, all he seeks is Raistlin's well-being. And when Raistlin does not need Caramon anymore, and sets off on his own, and practically denounces his own twin brother, Caramon goes from the strapping warrior to a drunken mess. I'm serious. And it's because he lost his purpose. It is heartbreaking and tragic to see what happens to Caramon. However, just know one thing. Things do turn out all right for him, but it's, right now where I am in the books, he is a disaster. And right now, if you're feeling that, maybe it's time that you sought your purpose and focused on it. You will overcome those obstacles and you will do much better. Right now, this is about your independence, but you are going to have to stop and consider nuance occasionally. Otherwise, are those decisions really your own? Time to stop worrying what everyone else thinks of you. For the physical realm, we have some good news and we have some bad news. We have a Knight of Swords, which is about very quick thinking. You are going to have to make some serious decisions very quickly. You're going to have to make them fast. You're going to have to make them in a hurry. This is where you get to be the hero. But in order to be the hero, you have to reverse your own fortunes. For if they're bad, you have to move them into something good. And if they're good, you have to keep the wheel turning. You have to trust your processes. But it may require you to not move for a bit. That's very, very important. Not everything must be go, 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 go. That's the one thing that tends to stymie most people. Most people, they see a lack of movement or lack of progress because they're not trusting the processes. And with this wheel of fortune being center stage at the moment, your lack of forward movement, your plateau, whatever it is okay. You're maintaining what you have. If it's weight loss or improved health or whatever, then this is where you have to take a minute and understand that the perpetual progress wasn't going to go on. You have to change tactics a little bit. Now, that's where nuance is considered. Because now, if you want to make any more forward movement, if you want to reclaim what is yours, whether it's your health, your sanity, your spiritual health, your spiritual development, your spiritual growth, you are going to have to go to someone for help. You are going to have to ask others for their advice. It should be someone you trust. It should be someone who knows you. And it should be someone who is not afraid to give you the truth. Matter of fact, I watched an episode of Northern Exposure last night where Ed was house sitting for Maurice, and he began throwing dinner parties, and at one point he told another character, we know you're never going to put that camera on that tripod and take those pictures. Come on, you've spent more time talking about it than you've actually done it. Only later to realize that what he said was pretty horrible. He went back to talk to Chris and tell him, look, I'm sorry that was way out of line. It was like when I was house sitting for Maurice, I just became Maurice. Because Maurice is used to talking without a filter. He doesn't give a damn about your feelings. And Chris gave him a hug, told him there was nothing to forgive, and brought him behind the curtain and said, yeah, he's like, you're going to take the pictures. He goes, absolutely. He goes, what I needed was tough love. He goes, and at first I got a little irked by what you said, but I realized you were right. If I spend all my time playing cards and drinking, then I can't get anything done. I needed to get this done, and I needed that. So thank you, Ed. Thank you so much. Friends will give you very tough love at times. They're going to tell you what you're about. They're going to tell you things you don't want to hear, and things that might just upset you. But understand they're doing it from a position of love. Just because they want to see you succeed. They know you're capable of things. They know you're capable of great things. And if you're the friend, you may have to tell someone, hey, it's time you got up off your ass and did this. Understand? Because if you keep going this way, it's going to kill you, or it's going to hurt you, or it's going to negatively affect you. But if you get away from that, it's going to be a lot better for you. Okay? Try it. Please. I'm begging you. Because I care about you. Don't let yourself go down that path. Watch what happens. Again, you're that warrior, you're that leader, you're needed. Don't forget that. Spiritually speaking, we have an Eight of Wands, we have the Sun, and we have a Hanged One in reverse. A lot of this is going to come very quickly. To me, this is speaking of a lot of revelations happening. A lot of revelations that are going to be opening the doors for you. But they're most likely going to unsettle you. Your peace is going to be a little disrupted. And that's okay. That it's okay to never be in a constant state of perpetual peace with yourself, because you need to integrate things. You need to learn to do things a little differently. And that is probably some of the toughest advice some of us can get. Let's look at the oracles and find out what's going on. We do have baby steps, we've got star brothers, and we have big picture thinking. So let's start with those baby steps. So you're going to have to start following your intuition. Sometimes your intuition is going to tell you things to do before they even make sense. If you do that, guess what? Things turn out a lot better for you. The obstacles don't seem as big. They don't seem as overwhelming. And you can begin to complete what you need. Right here with Star Brothers, you do have protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. And you've got those people right there that you can ask, that you can draw from, that you can talk to. Talk to them. In this case, no one's an island, and you need them a lot right now. And whenever someone tells you something, whenever someone gives you that spiritual advice or that physical advice or that mental advice, start thinking big picture. How does that fit into your world right now? Because with this big picture, you can start to get some very inspired ideas, pointing at that Eight of Wands again, pointing at the Sun. You don't have to move. You don't have to make this forward momentum, this big chariot's pull to the fore. You can actually just kind of move slowly right now. This is where you have to start exhibiting some patience. I see a big lack of it around, and people wonder why things don't progress as they should. It's because they don't trust the process. I've seen people, and as many of you know, I do work in retail, they come up and then they're immediately just grabbing their phones and they're waving it all over the pin pad there, and it's like, that's, oh, how much is this? Did it go through? And it's like, is it cool if I just scan a few of your items first? I'm serious, I've seen that. I've nearly been hit at that crosswalk going to work several times. And I'm telling you right now, a lack of patience can kill you or get someone else killed. So start having a little. Let's grab some runes here. And I'm going to put one right here. I'm going to put another one right here. And then one more, I found it, and it is, there we go. Okay. Let's start with Ride-Ho. Do you know why you're not making those big forward movements? It's because this is about the journey, not the destination. Ladies and gentlemen, when I'm playing one of my games, the times that I remember most are the journeys. The trips to a certain castle. The battles that have ensued. The journey back to the village from raiding a dungeon. We left almost nobodies. We're returning as heroes. And I absolutely love it when I throw so many challenges at my players, and they, through great difficulty, through great strain, they overcome those challenges. And they come back, they're beaten, they're weary, they're dirty, they're tired. The king wants to see them immediately, but these guys got to get themselves cleaned up. You know, there's still, you know, dry blood from wounds, there's bandages, there's dirt and grime and all that on them. They need to get their armor cleaned, they need to get their weapons sharpened. They're coming back and they are just beat up. They're in no condition to see the king or the prince or even the duke. They're in no position to see royalty yet. But guess what? They're going to enjoy that process of getting cleaned up. They're going to enjoy that little bit of pampering. They're going to have their wounds bound, and they're going to have their armor shined to a mirror finish, their robes and their jerkins and their tunics cleaned. They're going to be pampered for a little while. And then, after they've been fed and they've been patched up, then they can go and see the king or the duke or whoever runs the town. It makes a lot more sense. Now with the Star Brothers, this is where you're going to have to realize you've been here before. You're going to have to trust your intuition a little more. And this also tells you, take a chance. If you think someone will not understand your problem, this is where you're going to have to roll the dice. Maybe they won't, but maybe they know someone who will, and they'll say, hey, you know what, I know nothing about that, but I know someone who does. Let me introduce you. Or, hey, do you know that person I introduced you to a while back? Talk to them, because I think they'll have a better understanding of your problem. Watch. You will find allies you did not know you had. And better still, you will find friends. It's one thing to have allies, people, but it's another to have friends. Let me tell you something about alliances and friendships. Alliances are easily broken. Friendships, on the other hand, are not. And they are far more valuable. That's a little piece of advice that doesn't come from this that you need to know. Maybe it does. Who knows? Big picture thinking. All about that raised flag of victory. Wunyo. There is no great reward without great risk, which is what Perthro teaches you. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So, if you want to be the peacemaker, you will have to be independent, you will have to be strong in your convictions, and you will have to show that even at your most vulnerable, your vulnerability is the greatest source of your strength. It's okay to never constantly move. Sometimes you need to stay in one spot. Sometimes your strength needs to shine to others, and you can't do that if you're always moving around. Now's a good time to sit still. Take that breath. Trust your process. In fact, your magic as a personal process should be absolutely 100% the only thing that rates at the moment. Especially in those moments alone. Meditation, seek help from the spiritual, whatever that looks like to you. I'm not here to tell you to pray to any certain deity or another. That has to be very personal to you. Pray, meditate, talk to others, ask for help. Ask those who came before you what they think. See if they've ever been in those situations. You're going to find a wealth of invaluable information that's going to help you quite a bit. But that's everything from me today. I want to thank every one of you for coming over. I want to thank every one of you for subscribing and tuning in. I want you to always remember, I might have some bad news, I might have some good news, but it's always brought to you from a position of love, because I do love you all. I want you to take care of yourselves and each other. I want you to do what always lights you up, and as always, I want you to shine on, even on a dreary day like today. Take care.